The waiter handed me a check for $2,200 while my family sat inside the restaurant, completely unaware their financial world was about to crumble. 5 minutes earlier, they had literally pointed me to the patio because there wasn't enough room at their table for the family disappointment. What they didn't know was that I had just become the youngest regional manager in my company's history, and the envelope in my purse contained documents that would change everything. The same people who made me eat outside like a stray dog were about to discover that their mortgage, their car payments, and their precious country club membership all depended on someone they had just humiliated. By the time dessert arrived, I would hold their entire future in my hands. But before we continue, check if you're already subscribed to the channel and write in the comments where you're watching this video from. I stare at the text message on my phone screen for the third time, my coffee growing cold in the break room of Peterson Financial Group. Family dinner Sunday at Marcello's, 7 p.m. Don't be late. Mom. No please. No, how are you doing? Just a command wrapped in 12 words that somehow managed to carry 27 years of disappointment. My phone buzzes with another message from my sister Ashley. Can't wait to see you. I have huge news to share with everyone. 3 exclamation points. Ashley has always been the exclamation point type, the golden child who could announce she was dropping out of college to become a professional dog walker and still get a standing ovation from our parents. Meanwhile, I had just closed the biggest client deal in Peterson Financial's quarterly history, securing a partnership worth $4.2 million. The promotion announcement would come Monday morning, along with the salary bump that would finally put me in 6 figures. But none of that would matter at Sunday dinner. It never did. I delete Ashley's message without responding and walk back to my desk, where 3 monitors display spreadsheets that most people would find mind-numbing. Numbers don't lie or play favorites. They don't care if you're the daughter who got straight A's or the one who got pregnant at 19 and married the first guy who would have her. Numbers are pure truth, and right now they're telling me that the Henderson account alone will generate enough commission to buy a small house. My desk phone rings. Sophia Taylor, Peterson Financial. Professional, crisp, the voice I've cultivated over 5 years of proving myself in a company where being 27 and female means fighting for every inch of respect. Sophia, it's Dad. His voice carries that particular tone he reserves for conversations about money, which is to say, conversations about how I should be spending mine. Your mother wanted me to remind you about Sunday. 7 sharp. We already made the reservation. I'll be there. The words come out automatically, muscle memory from decades of compliance. Good. And Sophia? He pauses, and I can practically hear him calculating something in his head. Maybe don't mention work stuff this time. You know how Ashley gets when the conversation gets too heavy. Right. Because discussing my career success might overshadow Ashley's latest adventure in mediocrity. I hang up without promising anything. Sunday evening, I stand in front of my closet in my 1-bedroom apartment in downtown Columbus, debating between the navy blazer that says successful professional and the simple black dress that says I'm not trying to upstage anyone. The blazer wins. If I'm going to be dismissed, I might as well look competent while it happens. Marcello's sits in the heart of German Village, the kind of restaurant where entrees start at $30 and the wine list requires a second mortgage. Dad always picks places like this for family dinners, not because he appreciates fine dining, but because he likes being seen in expensive places. The irony is that he can barely afford it, not that anyone in the family acknowledges that particular elephant in the room. I arrive exactly at 7 and spot them immediately. Mom waves from a table by the window, her smile bright and artificial as her newest set of veneers. Dad stands to hug me, his aftershave competing with the restaurant's ambience. Ashley bounces up from her chair like an excited puppy, her engagement ring catching the light from every possible angle. Sophia. You look so professional, Ashley gushes, and somehow she makes professional sound like a consolation prize. I was just telling Mom and Dad about the wedding plans. We're thinking destination wedding in Costa Rica. Ryan's family has a contact there who can get us an amazing deal. Of course they are. Because nothing says fiscal responsibility like flying 30 people to Central America for a party. That sounds expensive, I say, taking the empty chair across from them. Well, that's where family comes in, Dad says, his smile not quite reaching his eyes. Everyone pitches in to make dreams come true. The waiter appears with menus, and I notice something immediately. There are only 4 chairs at our table, but 5 menus. Excuse me, I say to the waiter. I think there might be a mistake. We have 4 people but 5 menus. Mom looks confused for a moment, then her expression shifts to something that might be embarrassment if she were capable of such an emotion. Oh, that's right. Sophia, I'm so sorry. When I made the reservation, I forgot to mention you were coming. They could only give us a table for 4, and with Ashley's big announcement. She trails off, gesturing vaguely. Dad jumps in with his solution-oriented voice. But look, there's a perfect table for 1 right there on the patio. You can still be part of the celebration, just with a little more elbow room. The patio table sits 15 feet from the window, close enough to watch my family laugh and gesture animatedly, far enough away to feel like I'm looking at someone else's life through glass. The waiter, clearly uncomfortable with the arrangement, sets down my single menu with an apologetic smile. Can I start you with something to drink? He asks. Bourbon. Double. Whatever's good. I need something to burn away the taste of humiliation. Through the window, I watch Ashley pull out what appears to be a photo album. Wedding venues, probably, or engagement pictures, or ultrasound images if this day wants to get worse. Mom clutches her chest dramatically. Dad raises his wine glass in a toast. They're a Norman Rockwell painting titled The Perfect Family, and I'm the rough sketch that got left on the cutting room floor. My phone buzzes with a text from my boss, Richard Peterson. Board meeting moved to tomorrow morning. Need to discuss your promotion before the announcement. Congrats again, Regional Manager Taylor. Regional Manager. At 27. The youngest in company history. I screenshot the message and consider sending it to the family group chat, but what's the point? They're celebrating Ashley's ability to find a man willing to marry her. My ability to find success in a competitive industry barely registers as conversation-worthy. The bourbon arrives, and I take a sip that burns all the way down. A couple at the next table glances over sympathetically. They probably think I'm a business dinner gone wrong, or a bad first date. They don't realize I'm the family member who got exiled to the patio because there wasn't room at the table for someone whose accomplishments don't involve wedding planning. Inside, Ashley stands up and hugs Mom. Dad pulls out his credit card to pay the check, making a show of studying the bill like he's not mentally calculating which payment he'll have to skip this month to cover it. My phone rings. Unknown number, but the area code is local. Hello, this is Sophia. Miss Taylor? This is Jennifer Walsh from Columbus Community Bank. I hope I'm not calling it a bad time. I glance toward the window where my family is preparing to leave without acknowledging my existence. Not at all. What can I help you with? I have some unusual news regarding your parents' mortgage account. Is this something we could discuss now, or would you prefer to schedule a meeting? I'm sorry, I think there's been a mistake, I tell Jennifer Walsh, watching my family gather their coats through the restaurant window. I'm not on my parents' mortgage. I don't have any authority over their accounts. Actually, Miss Taylor, you are listed as the primary cosigner on the mortgage refinance they completed 18 months ago. According to our records, your signature was required because of your credit score and income verification. Do you recall signing these documents? My bourbon glass stops halfway to my lips. 18 months ago. Right around the time Dad lost his job at the insurance company and spent 3 months between opportunities. Right around the time Mom kept calling me about family emergencies and unexpected expenses. I remember signing some paperwork, I say slowly. But they told me it was for a business loan. Something about Dad starting a consulting firm. Miss Taylor, I need to inform you that the account is currently 60 days behind on payments. The total amount due immediately to avoid foreclosure proceedings is $11,400. As the cosigner, you're legally responsible for this debt. Through the window, Dad is laughing at something Ashley said while Mom shows off her wedding photo album to nearby diners. $11,000. The exact amount of commission I earned from the Henderson account last month. The exact amount sitting in my savings account, earmarked for a down payment on my own house. Miss Taylor? Are you still there? Yes, I'm here. Can you send me copies of all the paperwork? I want to see exactly what I signed. Of course. I'll email everything within the hour. But Miss Taylor, given the timeline, will need payment by Wednesday to halt the foreclosure process. I'm very sorry to be the bearer of this news. I hang up and stare at my reflection in the restaurant window. My family is walking toward the exit, still animated in conversation. They passed directly by my patio table without glancing in my direction. Ashley stops suddenly and turns back, her face bright with afterthought charity. Sophia. We're going to that new gelato place down the street. Want to come? No thanks, I say, my voice surprisingly steady. I have some business to take care of. Dad appears beside her. Business on Sunday night? You work too much, kiddo. Life's about more than spreadsheets. Monday morning arrives with Ohio autumn rain that matches my mood perfectly. I sit in Richard Peterson's corner office, accepting congratulations on my promotion while my mind churns through the implications of last night's phone call. The documents from Columbus Community Bank arrived at 2 a.m., and I spent the rest of the night reading through mortgage agreements and refinance papers that bear my forged signature. Not just forged, expertly forged. Someone took time to practice my handwriting, to study the loops and angles of my name. Someone who had access to my social security number, my employment information, my bank account details. Someone who knew exactly how much I made and how good my credit was. Sophia, you're officially our youngest regional manager in company history, Richard says, sliding a contract across his mahogany desk. The board was impressed with your Henderson account coup. 42 clients transferred over from Morrison Financial because of your presentation. That takes skill. I sign my name carefully, thinking about the dozens of times I've watched Dad sign documents at family dinners, birthday parties, Christmas mornings. Always the same flourish on the S, the same sharp angle on the T. Richard, I need to ask about something. Hypothetically, if someone forged a signature on a mortgage document, what would the legal consequences be? His eyebrows rise. That's an interesting hypothetical. Mortgage fraud is a federal crime, Sophia. We're talking potential prison time, massive fines, permanent criminal record. Why do you ask? Just something I'm dealing with for a client, I lie smoothly. Thanks for the information. 20 minutes later, I'm in my car calling Jennifer Walsh back. I need to meet with you in person today. And I want to file a fraud report. Miss Taylor, are you certain about this course of action? Filing fraud charges against family members can have serious consequences. So does identity theft and mortgage fraud. The bank meeting confirms my worst suspicions. Not only did my parents forge my signature on their mortgage refinance, but they also used my income verification to qualify for a home equity line of credit. They borrowed against my future earnings, my credit score, my financial reputation to fund Ashley's college years, her car, her engagement ring, and apparently the down payment on the house Ryan bought for them to live in after the wedding. Total debt in my name, $73,000. My phone buzzes with a text from Ashley. Thanks for being such a good sport about dinner last night. Can't wait for you to be my maid of honor in Costa Rica. I spend Tuesday morning in the office of Patricia Hernandez, the best financial crimes attorney in Columbus according to my Google search and Richard Peterson's recommendation. Her law office occupies the 32nd floor of a downtown high-rise, with windows that overlook the same German village restaurant where my family exiled me to the patio. This is comprehensive fraud, Patricia says, reviewing the bank documents spread across her conference table. Identity theft, mortgage fraud, forgery of financial documents. Your parents could face federal charges and serious prison time. What are my options? You can file criminal charges and civil suit to recover damages. You can demand immediate repayment of all fraudulent debts. Or, she pauses, studying my expression. You can leverage this information to protect yourself and ensure this never happens again. What does leverage look like? You become the mortgage holder. The bank transfers the debt to you at current market rates, removing your parents as borrowers. They become renters in the home they used your credit to purchase. You set the terms of repayment, including rent amounts and timeline for equity transfer. The idea settles in my mind like a puzzle piece clicking into place. So I would own their house? You would own their house, their home equity line of credit, and any associated debts. They would have to pay you rent and make payments on the credit line to avoid eviction. It's perfectly legal and protects you from further financial fraud while giving them an opportunity to make restitution. I think about Sunday night on the patio, about 27 years of being treated like the family afterthought. About Ashley's destination wedding funded with my stolen credit. About Dad's lecture on how life is about more than spreadsheets while he was stealing my financial future. How quickly can we make this happen? If you're serious about this course of action, I can have papers drafted by tomorrow. The bank will likely cooperate since it removes their risk and ensures payment. Your parents will need to sign over the property or face foreclosure and criminal charges. What about the wedding? I ask, thinking about Ashley's Costa Rica plans. Any wedding expenses charged to the home equity line become your debt to collect. If there's no money to pay you back, the wedding doesn't happen. I pull out my checkbook and write Patricia a retainer fee that would have covered my parents' missed mortgage payments. But this isn't about the money anymore. This is about 27 years of being invisible, disposable, worth less than patio seating. Draft the papers. Wednesday evening, I sit in my car outside my childhood home. Patricia's legal documents in a manila envelope on my passenger seat. The house looks smaller than I remember, with peeling paint on the shutters and a cracked driveway that Dad keeps meaning to fix. The BMW in the driveway belongs to Ashley, another purchase funded by my stolen credit. My phone rings. Mom's contact photo fills the screen, the family portrait from Ashley's college graduation where I'm standing slightly apart from the group because I had to work that morning and arrived late. Sophia, honey, we need to talk. Can you come over? Tonight? It's important. I'm actually outside right now. Oh, wonderful. Come in, come in. Ashley's here too. We're having a family meeting. I lock my car and walk up the familiar front steps, envelope tucked under my arm. The living room looks exactly like my childhood memories. Mom's collection of ceramic angels on every surface, Dad's recliner positioned for optimal television viewing, Ashley curled up on the sofa with her laptop, probably browsing wedding Pinterest boards. Sophia, sit down, Dad says, his voice carrying that particular gravity he reserves for discussions about my life choices. We need to discuss your future. My future? We've been talking, Mom says, settling beside Ashley on the couch. And we're worried about you. 27 years old, living alone in that tiny apartment, working all the time. You're missing out on life. Ashley closes her laptop and turns to face me with sisterly concern. Ryan has a cousin, Jeremy. He's an accountant, really stable, great sense of humor. We thought maybe you two could meet. At the wedding, Mom adds quickly. In Costa Rica. It would be the perfect romantic setting. I look around the room at their expectant faces. 3 people who spent my credit and forged my signature, now concerned about my romantic prospects. Actually, I came here to discuss something else. Something about the house. Dad's expression shifts slightly. What about the house? I open the manila envelope and spread Patricia's documents across the coffee table. Mortgage transfer agreements. Property deed changes. Criminal fraud evidence. I know about the refinance. I know about the home equity line. I know you forged my signature and used my credit to borrow $73,000. The silence stretches for 30 seconds. Mom's face goes pale. Dad's jaw tightens. Ashley looks confused, glancing between the papers and our parents. Sophia, let me explain, Dad begins. No. I cut him off. I'm explaining. As of tomorrow morning, I own this house. You can pay me rent and make payments on the debt you created in my name, or you can face federal fraud charges and find somewhere else to live. You can't be serious, Ashley says, her voice rising to that particular pitch she uses when reality doesn't match her expectations. This is our family home. You can't just take it away from Mom and Dad. I didn't take anything. They gave it to me when they put my name on the mortgage without my knowledge or consent. I point to the signature comparison chart Patricia prepared. That's forgery. That's identity theft. That's mortgage fraud. Mom starts crying, the kind of theatrical sobbing she's perfected over decades of emotional manipulation. How can you do this to your own family? We raised you, we fed you, we put a roof over your head, a roof I'm apparently paying for, I interrupt. Retroactively and without my consent. Dad stands up, pacing to the window. We were desperate, Sophia. I lost my job. The medical bills were piling up from your mother's surgery. Ashley needed help with college loans. We knew you were doing well financially, and we planned to tell you eventually. When? After I discovered it when applying for my own mortgage? After my credit was ruined? After the bank came after me for payments on a house I don't live in? We've been making the payments, Dad says defensively. You're 60 days behind. Ashley looks at our parents with dawning horror. Wait. You took out loans in Sophia's name? Without telling her? It's complicated, honey, Mom says, reaching for Ashley's hand. Adults have to make difficult decisions sometimes, Adults don't forge signatures and commit fraud, I say. Adults don't steal their daughter's financial future to pay for the other daughter's lifestyle. The room erupts in competing voices. Dad insisting they had no choice. Mom crying about ungrateful children. Ashley demanding explanations about what this means for her wedding. Through it all, I sit quietly, remembering Sunday night on the restaurant patio, watching them celebrate without me through the glass. Finally, I stand up. Here's what's going to happen. You have 24 hours to decide. Either you sign these property transfer documents and begin paying me rent of $2,000 per month plus payments on the home equity line, or I file criminal charges tomorrow morning and let the bank foreclose. $2,000? Dad's face flushes red. That's robbery. The mortgage payment is only $1,400. The mortgage payment for a house you can no longer qualify to own. The rent for people who committed fraud. Your choice. Thursday morning brings 3 missed calls from Mom, 2 voicemails from Ashley, and a single text from Dad. We need more time to think. I delete all of them and drive to work, where my new regional manager office has a view of the parking lot and a door that actually closes. Small victories. Richard Peterson stops by with coffee and congratulations. How does it feel to be the youngest regional manager in company history? Like I'm finally being valued for what I bring to the table, I say, thinking about more than just work. My phone buzzes with a call from Patricia Hernandez. Your parents' attorney called. They're requesting a meeting to discuss terms. They hired an attorney? Harold Morrison from Morrison Financial Legal. Interesting choice, considering you just stole their biggest client base last month. I laugh despite the tension. They're trying to intimidate me with the competition. Doesn't matter. The evidence is solid, and your position is legal. Do you want to meet? Set it up for this afternoon. And Patricia? I want to add something to the agreement. The Costa Rica wedding gets cancelled, or they buy me out of the home equity line immediately. Full amount. How much are we talking about? Ashley's been planning this for 8 months. I'm guessing $20,000 to $30,000 in deposits and expenses, all charged to the equity line I'm now responsible for. That afternoon, the conference room at Patricia's law office feels like a courtroom. My parents sit across the table with Harold Morrison, a thin man in an expensive suit who keeps checking his phone. Patricia spreads documents across the polished wood surface while I sit quietly, hands folded, watching my father's face turn increasingly red as the terms are explained. This is extortion, Harold Morrison says. We could argue that Miss Taylor is using her parents' mistake to financially abuse them. Miss Taylor is offering to keep her parents out of federal prison while recovering from identity theft and mortgage fraud. Patricia responds smoothly. She could press charges and walk away. Instead, she's offering them a path to restitution. Mom speaks up, her voice small and defeated. What about Ashley's wedding? We already put down deposits. That's my money you put down, I say. Money you borrowed against my credit without my permission. If Ashley wants a Costa Rica wedding, she can pay for it herself. Sophia, please, Ashley says, and for the first time in our lives, she's begging me instead of the other way around. Ryan's family already bought plane tickets. My dress is custom made. The venue is booked, then I suggest you find $20,000 very quickly. Harold Morrison slides a counterproposal across the table. My clients are willing to transfer the property deed and pay rent of $1,000 per month. The wedding expenses stay in place, but they'll take responsibility for that debt going forward. I don't even look at Patricia before responding. $1,700 per month rent, and they pay me back the full home equity balance over 5 years at 6% interest. The wedding gets cancelled or they pay me the full cost up front. That's impossible, Dad says. We can't afford $1,700 plus loan payments plus living expenses. Then get jobs, I say simply. Both of you. Ashley can contribute to household expenses instead of planning destination weddings. Or you can face federal fraud charges and figure out rent payments from prison. Mom reaches across the table toward me. Sophia, sweetheart, we're family. Families forgive each other. Families help each other through difficult times. You're right about families helping each other, I agree. I've been helping this family my entire life. Straight A's so you could brag to neighbors. Full scholarship so you didn't have to pay for my education. Steady job so you could forge my signature when you needed money. The help has been pretty one-sided. That's not fair, Ashley protests. Mom and Dad helped me because I needed it more. You were always the responsible one. Being responsible doesn't mean I deserved less love. It doesn't mean you get to steal my financial future because I was better with money. Harold Morrison whispers something to my father, who nods grimly. We accept the terms. 1,700 rent, 5-year repayment plan on the equity line. But we want the wedding expenses grandfathered in. I look at Patricia, who nods slightly. We discussed this possibility. Fine. But any future charges to the equity line require my written approval. And if rent is late even once, I file eviction proceedings. And the criminal charges? Harold asks. Will not be filed as long as payments are made on time and no further fraud occurs. Papers are signed. Handshakes are exchanged. My parents walk out of the conference room looking like they've aged 10 years in 2 hours. Ashley hugs me awkwardly, whispering thank you in my ear before following them to the parking garage. I remain seated as Patricia packs up the files. How do you feel? Like I just bought a house I don't want and tenants I didn't choose. You could sell it. Take the equity and walk away. But that would let them off too easily. They'd find another victim, another family member to manipulate and defraud. At least this way, they learn consequences. 3 weeks later, I sit in the same restaurant where this started, but at a table inside with a clear view of the patio where I was exiled. My friend Jennifer from college sits across from me, her eyes wide as I finish explaining the entire situation. You own your parents' house? That's either brilliant revenge or completely insane. Maybe both. I take a sip of wine, actually enjoying the taste instead of drowning sorrows. But they're making payments on time, and Ashley had to cancel Costa Rica. They're doing the wedding at the community center instead. How does that feel? Like justice. My phone buzzes with a text from Dad, a photo of a rent check made out to Sophia Taylor in the amount of $1,700. First of the month, every month, just like any other tenant. Jennifer laughs. I can't decide if you're the hero or the villain in this story. Why can't I be both? At home later, I spread Ashley's wedding invitations across my kitchen table. Sophia Taylor and guest in elegant script. The guest line remains blank because I'm not bringing anyone. I want to enjoy this solo. My laptop shows the latest bank statement from the property account. Rent payments, equity line payments, all depositing regularly into accounts I control. The irony isn't lost on me. My parents are now financially contributing to my future house fund in a way they never intended. A knock at my door interrupts my planning. Through the peephole, I see Ashley standing in the hallway, holding a bottle of wine and looking nervous. Hi, she says when I open the door. I brought wine. Can we talk? I step aside to let her in, curious about this new dynamic where she's requesting my time instead of demanding it. I wanted to apologize, she says, settling onto my couch. I never realized how differently Mom and Dad treated us. I thought you were just naturally more independent. I was independent because I had to be. You were dependent because you were allowed to be. She nods, tears starting. The wedding planning has been horrible. Do you know how humiliating it is to call vendors and explain that you can't afford the Costa Rica package anymore? That you need to cancel the professional photographer and the designer flowers and the live band? Actually, I do know what it's like to have financial limitations affect your plans. I've been living with them my entire adult life while you lived without them. I get it now. And I'm sorry. Really, truly sorry. The community center looks surprisingly elegant, decorated in Ashley's original color scheme, though the fluorescent lighting and linoleum floors can't quite achieve the tropical paradise vibe she originally planned. I arrive fashionably late, wearing a navy dress that cost more than Ashley's entire revised wedding budget. Mom greets me at the door with artificial brightness. Sophia, you look beautiful. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for inviting your landlord, I reply sweetly, watching her flinch at the reminder. The ceremony itself is actually lovely. Ashley looks genuinely happy, and Ryan seems like a decent guy who apparently had no idea about the family's financial fraud situation. During the vows, Ashley mentions something about learning the difference between wanting something and deserving something, and her eyes find mine in the crowd. At the reception, I'm seated at the family table, inside, not on a folding chair in the hallway. Dad approaches during cocktail hour, bourbon on his breath and defeat in his shoulders. I never meant for things to go this far, he says quietly. The signature thing, the loans. We were desperate, and you were doing so well. Dad, you forged legal documents in my name. You stole my credit and damaged my financial future. Desperation doesn't excuse fraud. I know. I know that now. He pauses, swirling his drink. Your mother's been seeing a therapist about the family dynamics, something about emotional manipulation and favoritism. This surprises me. Really? She's starting to understand how we made you feel invisible. How we took advantage of your responsibility and reliability. The DJ announces the father-daughter dance, and Dad extends his hand. Would you dance with your old man? One more time? I consider refusing. Consider pointing out that he chose Ashley for the father-daughter dance, that I'm just the backup option, the landlord invited out of obligation. But something in his face looks genuinely remorseful, genuinely broken. One dance. On the small dance floor, with Ashley and Ryan swaying nearby and Mom dabbing at her eyes with a tissue, Dad whispers in my ear. I'm proud of you, Sophia. Not just for your success, but for standing up to us, for demanding better. We never taught you to do that. I learned on my own. You learned a lot of things on your own. Too many things. 6 months after the wedding, I receive an envelope in the mail addressed to Sophia Taylor, property owner, from my parents' address. Inside, a handwritten letter from Mom. Dear Sophia, your father and I have been in family therapy for 4 months now. Dr. Martinez has helped us understand how our favoritism damaged both of our daughters, you by withholding love and support, Ashley by enabling dependence and entitlement. We want you to know that we never meant to hurt you, though we understand now that intent doesn't excuse impact. We took advantage of your strength and independence, treating them as reasons to give you less rather than evidence that you deserved more. The rent payments will continue on time every month until the house is paid off or until you decide to sell. We've both found steady employment and are committed to making this right financially and emotionally. We love you, and we're sorry it took us so long to show that love in ways you could feel. Mom, I fold the letter carefully and place it in my desk drawer next to the property deed and mortgage documents. Forgiveness is a process, not an event, according to my therapist. Some days I feel generous toward them. Other days I remember sitting alone on that restaurant patio while they celebrated inside without me. But tonight, as I review my investment portfolio and property management accounts, I feel something that might be satisfaction. Not just financial success, but the deeper satisfaction of establishing boundaries and consequences. Of teaching people who never learned that actions have ramifications. My phone rings. Ashley's contact photo fills the screen, the wedding picture where she's laughing and I'm smiling genuinely for once. Hey, sis. Ryan and I are looking at apartments in our price range. Turns out marriage is expensive even after the wedding. Welcome to adulthood. I was wondering, you know so much about real estate and investments. Could you maybe help us figure out a budget? I promise I'm not asking for money. Just advice. For the first time in our relationship, Ashley is asking for my expertise rather than my resources. It's a small distinction that feels monumental. I'll send you some spreadsheets, I say. And Ashley? Pay your bills on time. Credit scores matter more than you think. After hanging up, I walk to my kitchen window, which overlooks downtown Columbus and the restaurant where this all started. Somewhere across town, my parents are making dinner in a house they rent from their daughter, paying monthly reminders of the consequences of financial fraud. Somewhere else, Ashley and Ryan are learning to live within their means, building a marriage on realistic expectations rather than borrowed dreams. And here I am, regional manager of Peterson Financial Group, owner of 2 properties, holder of a credit score they couldn't destroy even when they tried. Sometimes the greatest victory isn't getting what you always wanted. Sometimes it's making sure that people who took advantage of your kindness learn what happens when that kindness runs out. The $2,200 check from that first night sits framed on my office wall, not the actual payment, but a symbolic reminder that sometimes justice comes in the form of compound interest in property law. They told me to sit outside at dinner. Now they're the ones on the outside looking in, learning what it feels like when someone they underestimated holds all the cards. And every month, when that rent check arrives, I remember that respect isn't inherited. It's earned, demanded, and sometimes, it has to be bought.